The word mason comes from the French maken, meaning a builder, a worker in stone. The extended form, Freemason or Frankmason, appeared in the Middle Ages. It referred to Freemasons, men who were not tied to a feudal estate but were free to travel and work, and who possessed specialized knowledge of cutting, shaping, and setting stone. These masons were builders of cathedrals, palaces, and fortresses, and their skills were highly valued. Over time, the name Freemason no longer described only a professional craft, but a member of a fraternity that used the language and symbols of stonework as a code of moral and spiritual teaching. The origins of Freemasonry lie in the guilds of medieval builders. These guilds preserved technical secrets of construction and ensured quality of work. They also guarded their independence. A Freemason was not simply a stonecutter. He was free to move from town to town, to work on great projects, and to transmit knowledge. With time, the lodges of Masons became more than professional associations. They evolved into brotherhoods with rituals, obligations, and a philosophy of life. Central to this transformation was the symbolism of the stone. In the eyes of the Masons, the rough, uncut stone represented man in his natural, imperfect state. Through discipline, learning, and moral effort, that stone could be shaped into the perfect ashlar, the polished, squared block fit for the construction of the temple. This metaphor became the foundation of Freemasonry. Every man entered the world imperfect, but through work upon himself, he could become perfected, worthy to be part of the great spiritual building of humanity. The greatest symbol of this tradition was the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. According to the Bible, it was built as a house for God, a dwelling of divine presence on earth. For the Masons, the temple was not only a historical building, but a model of the ideal society and the human soul. The legend at the heart of Masonic ritual is the story of Hiram Abiff, the master architect of Solomon's temple. Hiram possessed the sacred word, the secret of the craft. 3 apprentices tried to force him to reveal it. When he refused, they struck him with tools of the trade, the square, the level, and the mallet, and killed him. Hiram's body was hidden, but later discovered and raised from the grave. In Masonic initiation, this drama is symbolically reenacted. The initiate must die with Hiram, descend into darkness, and then rise again, reborn into light and knowledge. This myth gave Freemasonry its central ritual of death and resurrection, secrecy and revelation. Religion shaped the order profoundly. In its beginnings, Freemasonry was grounded in Christianity. Its symbols came from the Bible, its allegories from Christian teaching. Yet from the 17th century onward, the lodges opened their doors to men of different faiths. The one condition was belief in a supreme being, whom Masons called the great architect of the universe. The name itself reflects their origins in construction. God was understood as the master builder of creation, the designer of the cosmic temple. This openness made Masonry unusual in an age of religious intolerance. In one lodge, a Catholic, a Protestant, a Jew, and a deist could sit side by side, bound by oath and ritual. It was one of the first institutions to practice true religious tolerance, and that tolerance was a powerful force in the age of enlightenment. But if the ideals were lofty, the practices were severe. The initiation of a Mason was not casual. A candidate was blindfolded, led by a rope, and placed in a chamber of reflection. In that chamber, he found a skull, a coffin, a candle, and phrases reminding him of death. He was asked to meditate on the fragility of life. Then he was led into the lodge, where a sword might be placed against his chest. He took solemn oaths of secrecy, pledging that if he betrayed the mysteries of the order, his throat would be cut, his heart torn out, or his body buried in the sands. Though these penalties were symbolic, they created a sense of terror and awe. The initiate symbolically died to his old life and was reborn as a Mason. Rituals of higher degrees included reenactments of Hiram's murder confrontations with coffins and skeletons, and lessons acted out in allegorical drama. These ceremonies were unforgettable. They imprinted upon the candidate not only loyalty, but also a profound sense of belonging to a mystery older and greater than himself. Membership in this order was costly. Every Mason paid an initiation fee and regular dues. This limited the lodges to men of means, nobles, officers, merchants, and intellectuals. The lodge was not a gathering of common laborers, but of the elite. The money funded the upkeep of buildings, the purchase of regalia, and charitable works. But it also reinforced the exclusivity of Masonry. To be a Mason was to belong to an inner circle, to gain access to networks of trust and influence that spanned borders. From its cradle in England and Scotland, modern Freemasonry spread across Europe. The first Grand Lodge was founded in London in 1717, marking the official birth of Masonry as we know it. From there it reached France, where it attracted aristocrats and intellectuals. In Germany, lodges flourished among scholars and officers. In Italy, they became centers of revolutionary thought. In Russia, Freemasonry entered the nobility in the 18th century. Under Catherine the Great, lodges flourished, but later Tsars suppressed them, fearing their influence on reformist circles. Across the Atlantic, Masonry became deeply embedded in the American colonies. Many of the founding fathers, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere, were Masons. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity echoed Masonic values. The cornerstone of the U.S. Capitol was laid in a Masonic ceremony, with Washington himself wearing Masonic regalia. In Latin America, leaders of independence movements, Simón Bolívar, José de San Martín, were also Masons, using their lodges to coordinate political action. Thus, Freemasonry became a truly international brotherhood, shaping revolutions and reform across continents. Recognition between Masons was ensured by secret signs. They used handshakes with special grips, words, and gestures. These were not arbitrary. Each degree had its own form of recognition, known only to those who had passed through the ritual. A Mason traveling in a foreign land could enter a lodge, give the grip, and be received as a brother. Even in daily life, a gesture, a phrase, or a posture could reveal membership. The famous pose of Napoleon, with his hand tucked into his waistcoat, has often been interpreted as a Masonic sign. Whether this interpretation is correct or not, many of his contemporaries believed it, reinforcing the aura of mystery around him and the brotherhood. Secrecy was both strength and curse. It bound Masons together, but it also attracted suspicion. The Catholic Church repeatedly condemned Masonry, accusing it of heresy, relativism, and conspiracy. Monarchs feared the order as a breeding ground of revolt. In the 19th century, conspiracy theories portrayed Masons as hidden rulers manipulating revolutions and governments. In the 20th century, dictators like Hitler persecuted Freemasons, accusing them of being part of a global plot alongside Jews and other supposed enemies. Lodges were closed, members imprisoned or executed. Yet the brotherhood survived, often underground. Today, Freemasonry no longer holds the political power it once did. Lodges focus on charity, fellowship, and the preservation of tradition. But the symbols remain. The eye on the American dollar bill, the architecture of Washington, the myths of revolutionaries, all echo Masonic influence. More important, the ideals remain. Religious tolerance, equality, liberty, fraternity, these values were carried by Masonic networks from one nation to another, fueling the Enlightenment and the creation of modern states. The legacy of Freemasonry is not that it secretly ruled the world, but that it created connections across borders, classes, and creeds. It offered a model of a universal brotherhood, bound by symbols of stone, by rituals of death and rebirth, by secrecy, and by the dream of a humanity built as a temple of reason and virtue. Its myths, its ceremonies, and its networks left a mark on revolutions, on nations, and on the imagination of centuries. Even now, when we see the square encompasses the all-seeing eye, or the discrete signs of its members, we are reminded of a society that shaped the modern world from the shadows, not as masters of hidden conspiracies, but as builders of ideals that endure.